What's up, guys? It's Snugs, and today we're going to talk about what items you should be looking for, picking up, crafting, and selling, and this is part 2. One of the most difficult things with any ARPG, especially when you're new to it, you don't have a big, long background in POE1, for example, is how the hell do you know what to pick up? What actually has value? Part of this is kind of an eye of the beholder thing, but part of it, the market actually dictates what has value. So stick around and we're going to explain some items in detail and kind of go over what you should be looking for. Now, the first thing that I do want to mention is I am using a specific item filter. Item filters are really important, even if it's not even from a clutter standpoint, but it's from a standpoint that you need items with value or a base that has value to be highlighted. That's really, really important. And the quality of the filter that you are using is super important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link the video down below to Z-Boop's filter. This is the one that I am using in the video. I think it is arguably the best. I've talked about this before. But the reason that I'm not just linking you the exact link to it and I'm linking you to a video is because he explains how to use it and modify it. This kind of comes down to a teach a man to fish type thing. Instead of just giving you the filter, I want to show you how to get the filter, but not only how to get the filter, but how to modify and use the filter. Okay, guys? Just a quick disclaimer there. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into a map. I'm going to use ritual as well as I'm just going to use stuff off the ground, but I'm just going to start talking about these items and kind of what's going through my head as I'm seeing them, picking them up, identifying things like that. Raw currency I'm still picking up as long as it's about a 1 exile value plus. Some other things I'll pick up, like regals and armor scrap, stuff like that I know I'm going to end up using. All right, let's see. Advanced feather sandals. So there's advanced, expert, and then tiered. Advanced is lower down, expert is higher up, and then you have tiered modifiers. If you have an expert and tiered modifier, you know that it's probably something you should take a look at, especially if it's like tier 4, tier 5. This doesn't happen till later in the game, though. So if you're not quite deep end game, you're probably not going to be seeing those items. Tiered items can roll higher modifiers. They're more likely to roll higher modifiers. Right, we'll check in. Rarity and res is good. It's on a prefix, so when rarity is on a prefix, it is actually a little bit less value than when it's on a suffix. The reason is because on something like this that you know you need probably mana, right? Look at what I'm using right now. Mana and ES. The rarity is a little bit less valuable on a prefix than it is a suffix. One thing to keep in mind, guys. All right, so I'm attuned wands and siphoning wands can roll plus to lightning skills. Those are the only two that can roll it. So I check pretty much all attuned and siphoning wands. The other types of wands, like chaotic or whatever it is, I don't typically check. They can roll all spell skills, which can have some good value, but it's a lot less common than you're going to see like lightning skills. +3, +4, +5. That's kind of where your money's going to be in exponentially scaling value. We get an Omen of Corruption. All right. PogChamp, boys. Quarterstaffs, the second most popular build is going to be the Ice Strike Monk. So typically I'm checking quarterstaffs. What you're looking for is big elemental damage rolls. You're looking for big fizz rolls, and you're looking for plus to melee skills, especially in combination with elemental damage and plus melee skills. 4, 5, 6, 7. That's really what you're looking for on those. Plus to skills, that is. Wicker tiaras I like to check. Crossbows are a good check too. Like that. That's got 115% increased fizz damage roll. I will actually probably take this since I'm on the last roll. I like to check boots as well. If you have mana, rarity, movement speed is super important. Boots have almost no value if they don't have movement speed on them. Keep that in mind. That's a super, super easy one to just eliminate a lot of scrap items. If it doesn't have 25, 30, 35% movement speed, its value absolutely plummets into the ground. Oak hammers, great hammers, some types of hammers. All you are looking for pretty much right now, because of a popularized build by a streamer named Palstron, is plus melee skills on these. The other stats hardly even matter. If you see +7 on like an oak great hammer, it's got some good value to it. But yeah, this has got 115% physical damage. I'm actually going to take this. And yeah, I'm going to finish this map up. We'll go into another one and see if I drop anything on the way. Now, in this item filter, green items are lesser value. If you see like a rare item that has blue text on it, that means that it is a better base. So I'm going to see if I can find one of those for you real quick. All right, when it's kind of almost golded and grayed out, that means that this is an item for chance orbing. So sapphire rings can potentially turn into dream fragments, one of the most expensive unique items in the game. So that's essentially what that's for. We'll go ahead and throw a chance orb at it. If you are new and you don't have a bunch of currency laying around, I would not recommend doing this. I would recommend A, selling the sapphire ring, and B, selling the chance orbs that you get. You're going to get way more consistent profit out of doing that than trying to chance it, because the odds of this actually doing anything... Okay, we get a Whisper of the Brotherhood. It's a 1 exalt item. But the base is worth like 10 exalts, and the Chance Orb is worth like 7 exalts. So we just threw away 17 exalts for one exalt. You see what I'm saying? It's not worth it. Now, I could have gotten a Chance Shard back from that, but I don't care enough. Let's go ahead and go into another one. All right, that Fizz damage roll. Now, you can either sell it like this, or you don't have to. The only reason I took this has nothing to do with the leech. The leech we don't care about all that much. It's that big fizz roll. So you can either just try and sell it like this, which you're going to get maybe a couple exalts out of, or you can regal it and hope that you get something good. In this case, we get 29 dexterity. That is not great. We'll hit it again. We get a flat fire damage roll that's pretty low. We get crit damage bonus. That's good. And then we get a crap accuracy rating, but it added a little bit of fizz damage. So this has a little bit of value. We might see a few exalts out of this. I'm probably going to get just basically my money back out of it. If you get a high flat fizz damage roll, it automatically is going to increase that value a lot. Belts, we are looking for tri-res, especially good mana and good life. If you have all of those combined, it's probably a div to 2 divs, depending on how good those rolls are. The problem is ingenuity. This belt is so overwhelmingly popular that it makes rare belts kind of not all that valuable at the current moment, but there still is good value in them. I still see divines out of well-rolled rare belts. Just keep that in mind. That being said, while we're on the topic of ingenuity, rings are crazy important right now, because what this belt does, if you read that bottom line, 78% increased bonuses gained from equipped rings. That means that if you have a perfect 80% roll, this belt is essentially giving you an additional 1.6 rings in this slot. Meaning, rings are crazy important, and rings are actually one of the most expensive slots on your character at the current moment. So what I would recommend is picking up every rare ring. Well-rolled rare ring, it can be worth quite a bit of currency. There we go. There we've got a blue item on the ground, and it is a Expert Tier 2. This is a evasion base, which means it's going to be used on monks, things like that, potentially. Mostly Deadeye. Actually, the monks are more so popularly using ES bases. ES bases are kind of the king right now. Evasion bases are number 2. Armor bases are last, unfortunately. Sorry, melee guys. Sorry, Titan players. All right, we're going to go ahead and take the Resurgence. Those are worth about 7 exalts. All right, so gloves are a really nice spot. If we're looking for flat damage, life, res, that's a good one to go with. Attack speed is a really valuable stat on them. If it's an ES base with attack speed, good ES, and rarity on it, you know you've got, and then maybe some res, you've got a great item potentially there. Also, intelligence is a solid stat to have on your items as well. That's really popular, especially if it's an ES base. And let's see, that was our third one. Let's go ahead and re-roll here. So quarterstaffs we'll check. Again, this is essentially what I've got right here. Expert Hunter Hood, except it's a different variant, so it's a cowled helm. This has got life, mana, and a good res, but it's not worth taking. The only really good stat on this is going to be that lightning res. It's pretty low. We'll go to our next page. We have 3 quarterstaffs. Let's see if we got a good base. We do not. There's no high damage roll on that. That's the number one thing that we're looking for. Or good melee skills would be the other thing. Nothing else there is really worth looking at. All right, so big fizz damage roll, and it's got, holy crap. Okay, actually, I might take that. Okay, so this is actually a pretty decent little intro item, meaning basically if it's got movement speed, it's got mana, it's got intelligence, and a res, that's actually a solid pickup. It's a little bit low rolled, but this is still worth, a handful of exalts. I'm actually going to take this, and then we're going to run our last ritual to get that hammer out. All right, and we go ahead and take a look at the belt just because it's got a single res, a tiny mana roll. Spirit's really valuable. If you get Spirit in combination with good ES and good res, it can actually be a solid pickup. Right, Forlorn Crossbow, tier 2, not great. It's advanced. If it's expert, it's more likely we're going to pick it up. Quivers do not have a like an expert or advanced tier, so something like this, right, is something we could check. It's a tier 2. You're more likely to check it if it's a tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, especially tier 4 and tier 5 potentially is where most likely your value is going to be. All right. So we have a good evasion rating, a very high mana rating, but it's because it's a hybrid, so it's a little bit of a kind of sneaky. It's not actually 180. It's two different stats combined, creating 180 on there. This is not great. We're going to go ahead and throw that away. This, I might slam, see if we can get a third res on there. And let's see here. This is our Fizz damage weapon. Now, you could just sell this off as is, and it's definitely got some value. It's got a good Fizz roll, that 133%. It's got kind of a medium to low flat Fizz damage roll, and then we've got the accuracy physical hybrid. That's how it got 157%. Before you sell this, right, before you stick this in your tab, if you can, make sure to hit it with whetstones because you see what it does to that flat Fizz damage roll. Then you're going to throw a couple sockets in there, and then you're going to throw your iron runes in there as well. And now it is a 638 Fizz damage roll. So when people are searching on the trade site looking for X amount of physical damage, we just increase this by like almost 200 Fizz damage just by doing that. It is going to put it into a different category, essentially, of what people are looking for. Maybe their cutoff is 600. Now we have 600. Maybe it's 500. We have well above 500. So just keep that in mind when you're putting your items up for trade, guys. Really, really crucial part right there. Now what we can do is we can put a couple exalts in this. We're hoping probably for attack speed. Pretty bad. The item actually just lost value. And the reason that it lost value is because we didn't really get a great mob. The stun buildup's not bad on there. The light radius is horrible. The strength isn't bad though. Now you could make the choice. You could vol orbit and go for the fourth socket. It could really hurt the item or it could help the item. All right, let's go ahead and price check this real quick. This is Exile Exchange 2. I'll have the link to it down in the description, but I'm going to kind of go over how to use this and how to get a better idea of value out of items using this tool. Go ahead and hit Control D. It's going to bring up this page. At the top is the physical roll, and it is actually overshot here. So it's taking into account under the physical runes. Let's put in 518 attacks per second. Let's go ahead and bump this up to 1, not 100, 1. Accuracy rating doesn't matter, strength, and then stun build up. Let's go ahead and look at that real quick and see what shows up on the market. Keep in mind, time frame is super important. If something's been sitting around for 3-4 days, it's probably overpriced and probably not worth what they're asking for. This is actually a good point to bring this up. There was a popular video that was released by another creator, and he basically was giving people the idea that the best thing to do is start real cheap so a billion people message you and then bump it up until the whispers start decreasing. That's actually the opposite of what you want to do. It's kind of bad etiquette to do it that way. What you want to do is overprice and then drop it down until you do get a whisper. Refresh your tab so it looks like the item is new when you do that, and then you won't have any problem. All right, this is showing me in the maybe 10 to 15 exalted range. We would have to really open the trade tab here and take a deeper look. Most likely there are dead stats on several of these, and that's going to really affect the price on this item. I would say it's maybe around the 10 to 20 exalt mark, though. All right, let's go ahead and hit our baby ES boots. Going to hit it with some armor scraps here. We're going to hit it with an exalt. All right, we got a little bit of energy shield, and we got reduced attribute requirements. This is not worth much. What I may recommend is actually going for the chance orb here. If you don't want to spend these are worth a few exalts. So if you're not cash flow lucrative or, buoyant, I would maybe not do this, but okay, so we increase the ES. So I'm going to hit it one more time. We just actually hurt it because it took away the intelligence roll. And we got some life. It's pretty much dead. And one thing to take into account is what is the level requirement on this? Why the level requirement? Actually, Elon Musk meme insert here. but it's for leveling. So if you have a really good item with good stats on it that has a low level requirement, people might actually buy it for leveling. So keep that in mind. All right, that quiver that we picked up earlier actually ended up having a pretty darn solid double damage roll. For Deadeye, one of the most popular builds in the game right now is going to be Lightning Arrow or the Fizz Arrow, Lightning Arrow. Let's go ahead. We just got attack speed on it. That's a solid roll. And this would have been something you could have just sold off. Dex almost always rolls on Quiver, if not always. That's maybe a 10x item. That's solid right there. Maybe a little bit less, maybe 5x, but we spent 2x on it, so we just probably netted about maybe 3 exalts. All right, let's go ahead and go into one more map and just kind of keep looking at items. Hopefully this helps, guys. If you're enjoying this content, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing lots of content like this. So I've got a rapid fire tip series as well that are like 2-minute videos that can help you. All right, typically I don't really check the first window because the second window is more important to check because you can actually get some kind of decent tier omens in there. Some 60 to 80 exalt omens. We don't get much. Low rolled. Again, low rolled, not the stats we're looking for. Dual string bows are great to check. These are the most popular bow base out there right now, and the reason is because of that implicit line. Bow attacks fire an additional arrow. It just helps with clear and just helps with damage. It's all overall good. None of these bases I really check, to be honest with you. The Scepter you could check, but I think Rattling Scepter is the most popular. All right, Bombard Crossbow. Kind of bad rolls on there. We'll check this. Decent fizz roll. It's kind of a mid fizz roll. Let's go ahead and roll to the next page. We check boots. They are an ES base, so I like checking ES-based boots for sure. Expert lizard scale boots are really good. Stone greaves are good for melee armor class bases. Intricate gloves are one of the best ES bases right now. And we'll check. Now this has got life, dexterity, dual res, and a really good lightning damage roll. I think we take this, boys. And it doesn't look like there's much else here that we're really interested in, so we'll go ahead and move on. Another thing that we do want to check is sapphires. They're just so good to check. They can have multiple divine values if you get something like a good ES roll, scaling magnitude of shock, things like that, and especially combined. This is actually one good thing to mention. It's not always a single stat that's important. It's a combination of stats that are really where your value is increasing. So if you have one good stat that's on a blue base, it's by itself, it's probably got some value, right? If you have 2 good stats on an item, not only does the value increase, but it exponentially increases. Then you get a rare item and you have 3 great stats that, again, you start exponentially scaling. The one caveat to this is if you have 6 stats, but 3 of them are good and 3 of them are bad, it actually detracts from the value on an item because that space is gone. It doesn't have the potential to actually roll something good. So it can actually hurt against you adding more items to, or adding more modifiers to an item. And we'll go ahead and check what we did pick up here. This was actually not something I meant to pick up. I'm actually going to slam this. If we get something like a rarity roll on this, on that prefix, it could be pretty solid. Another damage roll could be pretty good here. And we get a solid increased evasion rating. I'd say maybe the dual res is solid. The life, I'd say maybe closer to a 10, 20x item. I don't know if... it's probably about a 10x item, maybe 5, somewhere in there. It's without price checking, it's kind of hard to know. Now, this blue jewel, cast speed, it'll roll up to 4%, as you can see there. Let's go ahead and hit this. Okay, we get the max EX energy shield. Those are 2 valuable items. They're both kind of low rolled, unfortunately. But those are 2 valuable mods on a single blue item. That's a perfect example. Cold damage. This may become popular later on. Lightning damage is more popular there. There's some other better modifiers, but it's not horrible. And then gain 10% of maximum energy shield as additional stun threshold. This is a pretty solid jewel. What's really holding this jewel back is maybe the cold damage a little bit, and then the rolls are low, unfortunately. I'm going to show you actually one of my jewels, and we will take a look. Here's an example. Recover 2% of mana on kill. That's really, really popular. Increase energy shield recharge rate. For people who are bossing, this is especially a really good stat. Cast speed, maximum energy shield. You see it there. Increase spell damage, and you get max energy shield together. increase cast speed, recover 1% mana on kill. This is what a multi-divine version of this jewel looks like. All 4 of those stats are solid. The cast speed could be a little bit better, and that recover 1%, that can be 2%. That's probably actually, believe it or not, one thing that's hurting the value on this the most is that 1% mana on kill not being 2% mana on kill. Anyway, guys, this has been kind of a longer video, but I hope this helps a little bit more. We're going to do multiple parts, so stay tuned. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be talking about this a heck of a lot more. I do have something that is going to be recommended here at the end of the video. This is one of the rapid fire tips that I made. It's about using large content creators to net you more profit, and it kind of pertains to this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it useful, and make sure that you like and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and have an amazing day. Stay healthy, my friends.